next video. So on this one, we're going to be talking about the iconicness of the end of the Namek Saga. So at the end of the Namek Saga, the coolest thing, bro, is when Goku turned into a Super Saiyan for the first time. Now, every kid has experienced their own variation of this. Some of you guys watched Dragon Ball Z and experienced this when it was actually airing on TV. I remember meeting one of my homies who used to watch it in Japanese when he was a kid. I don't know how he found Dragon Ball Z in Japanese because he's like 37. So he was literally like, you have to really look. So he had to really look for that stuff. So that blows my mind when he told me about that. But he watched the actual original sub of that, which is crazy. But some of y'all have watched it from reruns on Toonami. Some of y'all watched it when it first aired on Toonami. Some of you guys watched the Dragon Ball Z Kai version. I'm one of the dudes. I watched the original. I watched the reruns on Toonami when I was like 5 or so. But then I also watched Dragon Ball Z Kai growing up when I was like 13 to, I want to say, about 20. Because y'all know that Dragon Ball Z Kai took a big break in the middle. It went all the way up to the Cell Saga, and it finished the Cell Saga. And then we didn't get the Buu Saga half until I literally was in college, and it was called Dragon Ball Z Kai Final Chapters, and it literally came out when I was like 19, 20. But yeah, so I remember actually seeing Super Saiyan 1 on Dragon Ball Z Kai. And I remember when Dragon Ball Z Kai would like take a break, or if I didn't want to wait to see what happened, I literally would just look up the original Dragon Ball Z just to watch the fight. So I remember when I actually seen him turn into a Super Saiyan, and it was like they had us waiting for the next week to watch the episode. I was like, screw this, and I just went and flipped it over to the original Dragon Ball Z and just watched the Frieza versus Goku fight. I remember doing that as a kid. But I remember as a kid getting the biggest goosebumps from this. It blew my mind. Like, I was like, bro. And it's crazy because he literally just gets blonde hair, but it's like, it's so cool. Like, as a kid, it was the coolest thing to me as a child to see Goku transform to a Super Saiyan. And then to see his whole attitude change. Like, he's really angry. He's not playing around. He's tired of Gohan's nonsense. He's like, Gohan, go to the ship. Like, like he's hella pissed, bro. And just seeing him basically being unstoppable is like the coolest thing. And it was even crazier when we find out that Frieza wasn't even at 100% still. I was like, damn, Frieza has so many different forms. Because when Goku was in the pod, Piccolo, Vegeta, Gohan, and Krillin were all fighting Frieza, and was fighting all their different forms. Like, Piccolo literally fought Frieza's second form and his third form. He was getting whooped in that third form. Gohan fought a little bit of the third form, and then the final form, Gohan, Piccolo, and Krillin all literally fought Frieza's final form at the same time. And then Vegeta fights him for a little bit, and he's like, I'm a Super Saiyan, even though he's not a Super Saiyan. And it's weird. It was like, when you watch the anime, there's all these weird things that they did where it made you think that Vegeta was a Super Saiyan. Like, I remember them having like this little weird animation where it showed like Vegeta turned, like his whole body was like silver or something. And for a second, we really thought he was a Super Saiyan, and then freaking Frieza just claps his cheeks, bro. He just whoops his butt, bro. I ain't gonna lie to you. He literally grabs him by the tail, chokes him, and punches him in the back. I'm like, God dang. That was when Frieza was really ruthless, bro. Frieza was on some wild stuff back in the day. But it was really cool when Goku finally got out of the pod and like he finally fought Frieza, and he's literally in like base form fighting final form Frieza. And I know Frieza was like confused, like, what this little lonely Saiyan fighting me, bro, and he's really damaging me, like, because when Vegeta was fighting him, it was like Vegeta wasn't really doing nothing, bro. But there is the first half when he first transforms, and him and Vegeta are like fighting in his like his repressed form or whatever. They fight a little bit, which I don't know why, but I really like Frieza's repressed form where his power level, I think it's like 65,000. I think he said, no, it was like 650,000. I think was his power level at the time. And I remember Dragon Ball Z Kai saying, like, when he turns into his, like, bigger first form, his power level is 1 million. Like, which is like, damn, that shit. But I really liked the whole Frieza's forms changing. That was something I really liked that Toriyama did. And I remember going to Barnes and Nobles. I remember my grandma took me to Barnes and Nobles because this is really when I was on that Dragon Ball Z hype. My grandma took me to Barnes and Nobles, and I literally went inside, and she's like the coolest grandma ever because I stayed in there for like 2 3 hours, and I read pretty much all of Dragon Ball, bro. Like all of the Frieza fights. So I read like 6 or 7 volumes. I just sat in there. You ain't a real one if you ain't sat down in Barnes and Nobles and just read the mangas, bro. But I sat there and did that. And I also read Astro Boy. I was like really into Astro Boy because I loved the vibe of Astro Boy. And Astro Boy has always kind of reminded me of Sonic. And it always reminded me of Mega Man. And then I found out that basically, if I remember correctly, it's like they couldn't get the rights. I think Capcom was trying to make like a Astro Boy game or something, and they couldn't get the rights for it, so they just created Mega Man. I remember hearing that a long time ago. I might be wrong about that, but I do remember hearing that when I was younger. You know, because I always felt like they were hella similar, but I always felt like Mega Man was a little bit cooler because he had all these different anime shows and stuff. But Astro Boy had a whole bunch of anime shows too. Like I remember seeing the original Astro Boy show on Adult Swim at like 4 o'clock in the morning. They showed the original one where it was like in black and white, and they showed like the first episode. But there's also like an '80s series, and then there's also like an early 2000s series, if I remember correctly. But there was a lot of different Mega Man series too. There was like the old school like '80s Mega Man cartoon or '90s Mega Man cartoon. But then there's all these like weird Mega Man cartoons that I remember used to be on TV. But then it's like now it's hard to find some of them, which is strange because I do remember seeing Mega Man on TV. But anyway, yeah, bro. I'm just y'all. I'm gonna be get off track a lot. I like a lot of nerdy stuff. It is what it is. But yeah, so all Frieza having all those different variations and different forms was really cool to me as a kid because it just showed you how strong he was, and it was just cool to see all the different forms. And a lot of different anime shows literally copy that now, where they give the villains like 3 or 4 different forms. And hey, that boy Piccolo was going crazy against Frieza. That's one of my favorite parts. I always love when Piccolo would actually get some W's, you know, or at the very least he's like on par with like the opponent, the villain, the antagonist that we're fighting at the time. Like his fight with Android 17 was really cool. His fight with what is it? Imperfect Cell was really good. You know what I'm saying? So I always like when Piccolo gets his W's, and I love how he came to Planet Namek. What made it really cool was it's like, oh shoot, we got our Namekian Piccolo coming to Planet Namek. Like he gets to see where he's literally from, which I think is really cool. But yeah, I do remember like really liking this, and I remember seeing the Dragon Ball Z Kai one because, like I said, I was watching through it. So I remember seeing that one, but I also remember like just going and like when I didn't want to wait a week, I just go and watch Dragon Ball Z because like I said, I watched both of them. I watched Dragon Ball Z as like a little kid, like 5 6 years old, and then I watched Dragon Ball Z Kai from like I want to say like 13 to like I said like 19. Is I would even go back and watch some of it too. It was crazy because they had Dragon Ball Super and Dragon Ball Z Kai final chapters going on at the same time. I remember watching it on my little flat screen in my room, watching both of the shows. But yeah, bro, I remember that. And then what else, bro? I'm trying to think. It was crazy later on when we found out that Frieza wasn't even using all of his strength. And like Goku still technically could have lost because Frieza wasn't using 100% of his strength at the end. Like he literally was fighting Goku. Like when Goku was in base and Frieza was in his original form. Like we call it final form Frieza, but apparently that's his original form. And the first form that we find that we see of him is his repressed form. Like he literally made a form to make himself weaker, which is interesting to me. But we find out later on that literally Goku still could have lost because Frieza was not at 100%. He was at like 30% because later on you see Frieza turn into his 100% form, which is literally him buff as hell. And Goku wasn't even at 100% when he was Super Saiyan, because literally he looks still buffish, but he looks kind of smaller. And then when he's actually fighting Frieza and Frieza's at 100%, he looks 3 times buffer. But Goku, if Goku didn't get Super Saiyan, he probably would have lost to Frieza, which is crazy. Um, and you know the thing, you know how people will say like a character wins because of plot. I don't really like saying that a lot because it's like that kind of like, of course, that's like every anime show. But Goku was like the original dude who would just be somehow would get stronger in fight, and then Toriyama kind of explained it as like, Saiyans get that Zenkai boost. I always hated how they like took that away. Like that was a really big thing in Dragon Ball Z, and then in Dragon Ball Super, it's like they'll lose, but they don't get stronger after they lose. Really, it's like they kind of do, but they don't talk about it no more. Because you could kind of make the argument that, like in the Tournament of Power, for example, it's like Goku loses to Jiren, but then he comes back and uses Ultra Instinct again and kind of knows how to control it more. Like you could count that as a Zenkai boost, kind of, or when Vegeta loses to Jiren, but he comes back and he has like the sparkly blue form, like the blue. Is it called blue? I think it's called Blue Evolution. But the sparkly blue form after his blue form, which is basically like Super Saiyan 2 blue, it's like he comes back and you could say that he got like a Zenkai boost. Um, but like they don't really say it no more. Like there are people that say that there's no such thing as Zenkai boost no more, but it's like there's kind of evidence that there is low-key still Zenkai boost, but they never bring it up. Because in the Tournament of Power, they're literally only fighting, I believe it's for 48 minutes, right? Um, and they're constantly getting these new forms, like the Saiyans, super fast or whatever. But again, that's a writing thing. But Dragon Ball Z always felt like it was written the best out of all the series. Dragon Ball, there actually is points in Dragon Ball where you can kind of feel that Toriyama is kind of just like doesn't really know what he wants to do, but then kind of like figures out something later on. But Dragon Ball Z always feels like he knows what he's doing, except for when he gets to like the Boo arc. It feels like he's kind of just thinking of the coolest stuff that he can think of. And it's funny because the Boo arc honestly has some of the greatest Dragon Ball Z moments. It has like some of the highest highs and some of the lowest lows. But it's so iconic to me because it's so entertaining and fun to watch. I really like the filler in it too. Dragon Ball has some of the best filler. I mean, it's like you have like PyCon, like when they have the Other World tournament, when Goku dies. I believe it's after he dies, after the Cell Saga. Yeah, I think that's it. Um, we get to see Goku fight in a little tournament, the little Otherworld tournament. We get to meet all these different Kais. You meet, what is it? I think ours is North Kai. Then you got South Kai, East Kai, and West Kai, which are different from Supreme West Kai, Supreme North Kai, Supreme South Kai, Supreme East Kai that Kid Buu fights later on. Um, So not to get confused with them, but they're like apparently filler characters, but it's like they fit so well into the show. Like to me, I know people will say that a lot of the stuff is not canon, but to me, I'm like, nah, these filler characters are canon. I don't care, bro, because they're so good. Like PyCon is like one of my favorites, bro, and just that little filler section where it's like, what's his name? What is his name? Obolu. This is the first time I've heard an ice cream truck come through. Well, no, that's a lie. I think this is like the second or third time. Let me see. PyCon versus. Hold on. PyCon. Olibu. Olibu. Like, those are two of my favorite filler characters. Like, bro, they're so cool, bro. And I hate how, like, in the Blue Saga, they had Yamcha whoop, how do I pronounce his name? Olibu. Like, I hate how Yamcha literally whoops him in, like, 30 seconds in the Blue Saga. I'm like, what? I'm like, get the hell out, bro. Bro was throwing hands with PyCon, bro. Like, how the hell all of a sudden he losing to Yamcha like it's nothing? I'm like, that's how you know that was filler. I'm like, y'all really wanted to give Yamcha a W. But I'm like, you had him beat somebody that's literally strong as hell, and that's been training for thousands of years. I really love the whole idea of them going to the afterlife, and you have all these warriors that have been literally training for thousands of years, 2,000 years. I remember hearing a YouTuber be like, "How did Pycon die?" It's like that nigga's like 1,000 years old, bro. He probably died of old age, bro. Pycon's one of the coolest characters to me. I don't care, bro. Bro, Goku and freaking Pycon literally go down to hell and they fight the, I believe it was the Ginyu Force, Cell and Frieza and King Cold. And that was like the coolest mess ever. That was filler, but I'm like, that's some of the coolest filler. I mean, they had Pycon looking clean as hell, and Pycon had the cleanest freaking OST. I was like, bro, this goes so hard for no reason, bro. I'm like, y'all doing all this for a villain character, and y'all ain't gonna ever use him again. Like, I remember wishing that he was in the Tournament of Power, and then, you know, finding out, oh, he's a filler character, so he's not gonna be. I was like, that sucks, bro. You know, even though they technically still could have put him in it, because the anime canon and the manga canon are so freaking all over the place in Dragon Ball Super, they really could have brought him in. Like, they don't do Pycon justice. I know and he's also inspired by Piccolo, which I can see it. He's green. He takes his armor off like Piccolo. And that was also another thing in the filler. I remember Goku. He uses Kaioken. He mixes Kaioken with Super Saiyan. I'm like, that was really cool. That's like a filler form that's really cool in Dragon Ball. But yeah. So like after Frieza gets defeated by Goku, you know, you have the whole. There's a lot of people that think that the Cell and Android arc is one of the best Dragon Ball arcs. There's some people that say it's the best written arc. I would kind of disagree with that. I would personally say the Namek arc is the best written. It doesn't feel like any of it is filler or all over the place. It feels like Toriyama knew exactly what he was doing when it comes to the Frieza arc. It feels like the Android and Cell arc. It feels like he was kind of low key confused on what he wanted to do, but kind of figured out some cool stuff. And you can see that in the Boo arc too. But a lot of the stuff, a lot of the problems came in because, from what I heard, I don't know if it's true, but I remember hearing a long time ago is that Dragon Ball Z was supposed to stop after Goku beats Frieza, but people wanted more of it. So Toriyama had to make even more stuff, rest in peace to the GOAT, to keep it going. So he thought of Frieza got defeated by Goku but not killed, and we get Mecha Frieza and we get King Cold. And they go to Earth. Goku ain't even there yet. Goku on the Yardrat planet where he learns instant transmission. It's literally like all the Z fighters, like freaking Vegeta's on planet Earth now, and he's kind of chilling with the Z fighters or whatever. And it's interesting because Bulma takes like a big liking to him. She likes bad boys, you know. You like a nigga that literally was gonna kill your friends, but I always liked the whole thing where it's like after the Frieza saga, it's like we don't really know. Like the Nameks move to Earth, but then they wish with their Dragon Balls they get a new planet Namek, and then after that we get the whole Mecha Frieza thing going on. There's like filler. There's like the what is it called? The Garlic Jr. filler. I remember in the old school Dragon Ball. But in Dragon Ball Z, it just skips that and goes straight into the Android saga. And I'm not gonna lie, the introduction to Trunks was so clean, bro. Because we didn't know who he was at first. You know, as a kid, you're like, who's this random Super Saiyan with a sword? Like, what the hell? And it's like as a kid, you think to yourself, okay, so I guess that everybody in Planet Vegeta didn't die. But then you see that he's wearing like the Capsule Corp thing, and you're like, what the hell? And then you kind of low key like put two and two together. You're like, okay, he has to be the like when we hear that he's from the future, it's like, okay, yeah, he has to be Vegeta's son. Like it's kind of obvious after a while. But yeah, bro, it was like his introduction because they're all scared. They're like Frieza is here and King Cold's in there, and of course Vegeta is talking about it. Vegeta got his little bad boy pink shirt on. But yeah, it's like they're all scared and stuff. They're like, oh crap, and then Goku's not here, and then Trunks just comes out of nowhere and slaughters both Frieza and King Cold, and it's like the coolest thing ever. And there were some people that said that King Cold was kind of not useless. What's the word? Kind of a waste. I don't agree with that. I don't think we needed King Cold to really do anything else. I do feel like they should have used him a little bit more later on though, because they do use Frieza later on. But again, it's like Dragon Ball Z's freaking story is so all over the place with its canon because when when they die, it's like you'll see like the filler, and in the filler, it's like Cell and Frieza know each other. They're like friends. They even do that in the Buu saga where they have like the little orb, and it's like you see everybody who died. You see Cell, Frieza, King Cole, the Ginyu Force. You see Babidi. You see all of them in hell, kind of hanging out with each other like they know each other. But that was filler, even though they show it in Dragon Ball Z Kai too, though. So y'all put filler in Dragon Ball Z Kai, but from what I heard, when it comes to the Dragon Ball Z final chapters, they didn't really care. They kind of just threw it together because they were kind of burnt out of Dragon Ball Z Kai. So they actually added filler into it, which is pretty interesting. But even later on, when we see in GT, later on, we see that Frieza and Cell know each other in Hell, too, because Goku fights both of them. Freaking GT Goku. He fights both of them in Hell and shit. So it's like, it's weird because it's like, Dragon Ball GT is not canon, but at the same time, it's like we see Frieza and freaking Cell and King Cold in Hell so many times. You would think that they genuinely do know each other, but then later on in the actual real canon, Frieza goes to Hell, but he's like on that tree thing, like he's stuck on the tree, and that's actually his personal hell. So all that stuff was filler, but it's like why couldn't they just all be canon? That was cool, bro. But the anime did that a lot, and that's why they think that Toriyama is like really inconsistent. But the truth is, it's like the anime just did a lot of like random filler stuff, and it had you thinking that that was like really a part of the canon because it would just randomly happen. Like Boo, like some of my favorite fillers in the Boo saga, where Boo literally goes to the afterlife and literally fights everybody in the afterlife. That was some cool filler. Like I said, I like the filler in Dragon Ball, but it is kind of confusing sometimes. Like I really like one of the best episodes is when freaking Piccolo and Goku go to get their driver's license. That's a really good episode, bro. It's freaking funny as hell too. Like they really got this man Piccolo trying to drive, when bro is like what? Ain't he like 8 years old at that time, bro? How old is he during that time? He's hella young. He might be like 9 or 10, bro. He's literally a kid. He just looked like a grown man, bro. But I just thought that was hella funny, bro. Like, bro, Piccolo was born a real nigga. Nah, they showed him as a little kid though. In Dragon Ball though, they showed him like being a little green little thing and him growing up or whatever. So we do get to see him as like a little kid. I think it's only like a couple of episodes though, because I swear he's fully grown in the tournament. Like really quick or whatever. But yeah, so after that, it's like. We meet Trunks, and then we meet all the androids and stuff, and it's like we get the whole TV special with future Gohan and future Trunks, and we see how the androids in their universe is like crazy and stuff, and we end up finding out that their universe is actually a parallel universe, because the universe that we're in right here, the main storyline for us is completely different for the Z fighters, So it's like a split thing. Trunks' future is completely different timeline, and I like how I don't want to rush through the Cell Saga, but it's like I like how we meet what is it? Android. I want to say Android 19 and 20, and then 20 is Dr. Gero. I really enjoy how the androids look. Honestly, when it comes to Toriyama, I think it's interesting how he drew his characters, because a lot of them are really detailed. I'm like, how are you drawing these super detailed characters? You know what I'm saying? Like, because when you look at the androids, they're really drawn like super detailed. Like Android 19 and 20 are super detailed. Android 20 is a little more detailed than 19, but they're pretty detailed, bro. And even Cell was really detailed. Like Toriyama drawing all those little spots inside of him, I'm like, that's crazy, bro. I knew that took hella long to draw. But, yeah. It was crazy because they trained for a couple of years, and then Trunks is like, wait, those aren't the androids, and then it's like they fight them, and then Goku gets the little heart virus, and all that happens, and then they find Gero's base. We also find out that Gero is a part of the Red Ribbon Army, and I really like the Red Ribbon Army as like a villain group. They're pretty cool. They came out before the Akatsuki, before the Phantom Troop, before the demons from Demon Slayer. We had the Red Ribbon Army. And I like how, at least with the new movies, they're using like old stuff from Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and making it into like, like a new canon. Even though it kind of does low key feel like the canon's kind of all over the place. Like, I like how we have Dragon Ball Super Hero, which has new androids in it, and it's a part of the Red Ribbon Army, and we get more lore for the Red Ribbon Army. And I like how in Dragon Ball Super Broly we get the real canon Broly and his dad, and we get the backstory for Frieza and the Ginyu Force and the Saiyans, and we see Vegeta as a kid and Nappa as a young adult, and we see Raditz as a young kid. Even though I wish they would have been deeper into that. Like, I always wish they would make a Vegeta Origins where we get to see Vegeta conquering planets and stuff. That would be so cool, bro. If we get to see Vegeta conquering planets as a kid, and him just living in the wild and doing all that stuff, and them just constantly conquering planets. It doesn't even have to be long. It could be like a 10 episode, 46-minute like mini series on Amazon Prime or Netflix. That would be really freaking cool. Like, I want to see the origins of that. But yeah, what else I have to say? I don't really have a lot to say about the Android Saga. It's just like we see that the Android Saga, like the universe that our main heroes are in, is different than Future Trunks' universe, because for one, there's no Android 16 in his universe. In our universe, it's like you have Android 17 and 18, and they literally kill Dr. Gero, and you have Android 16 pop out. So we have them running around looking for Goku to kill, and then it's like the Z Fighters try to fight them and literally get clapped. Vegeta's arm gets broke from Android 18, because she really the leader, low-key. Like, Android 16 is stronger than both of them, but Android 18 is stronger than 17 from what I see. Because she literally be toying with people. Like, when she fights freaking Kid Trunks, future Kid Trunks, bro, and she's really, like, throwing hands with him and everything and blocking all this stuff, like it ain't nothing. Like, she be playing, bro. Like, she really the mastermind. Android 17 kind of just goes with whatever she's doing. But yeah, bro. Android 16, of course, we all love Android 16 because he loves the birds and everything. And then, of course, you have one of the second most iconic fights, which to me is one of the most iconic because I watch it constantly. I rewatched it literally a couple days ago, where Gohan turned Super Saiyan 2. One of my favorite freaking forms of all time, especially when it comes to Gohan, because even when Vegeta and Goku became Super Saiyan 2, it wasn't as cool as when Gohan became Super Saiyan 2. Bro just looks badass, bro. He just looks so freaking cool, and he's toying with Cell. I mean, and somebody even made the example that Cell is literally technically younger than Gohan, which is hilarious, because he really is younger than Gohan. Like, Piccolo's hella young, and Cell is hella young. They're not even 10 years old or whatever. Well, I think Piccolo is like, by that time, Piccolo is probably like 13, 14 or something. But it's funny because we look at Piccolo like he's a grown man, like he's like 40 or something. But he really hella young. And then Cell is like 6 or 7. So that's pretty crazy when we see that. But that was one of the most iconic fights. I remember watching Dragon Ball Z Kai and watching it when I was around like 15, 16. Gave me goosebumps. I also remember a time where I was at my auntie's house and they were playing the original Dragon Ball Z, the Funimation dub, the very first one. They were playing it on Adult Swim, and it was the Beam Clash with Gohan, doing his Beam Clash with Super Perfect Cell. And it's just Dragon Ball iconic as hell, but I ain't gonna lie to you. Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is one of the most iconic things from it. Of course, he's had his fall from grace, which I always hate that they like. I don't know. Some of the directions the story goes in kind of annoys me, even though I love Dragon Ball Z. Like, I was really obsessed with it as a kid. It's like there's some stuff that always kind of annoyed me, or I wish would have went in like a different direction, But super iconic. Android 17 and 18, I honestly think they're really iconic. And I think Cell, I think all of his forms are iconic. I love Imperfect Cell, I'm not gonna lie. I like how he's like a creepy lizard bug creature thing. He's just really cool. I like how, you know, Piccolo fuses with Kami. That was really cool. Um, it's funny because when I was younger, like I always got Semi-Perfect Cell and Imperfect Cell's name confused. Like I always thought he was just still called Imperfect Cell. I never really paid attention, and you know I figured out his name was actually Semi-Perfect Cell. But I also like the idea of absorbing characters and getting stronger, and I feel like Sonic took inspiration from that with Chaos. Like how Chaos just you throw the Chaos Emeralds into Chaos and he just changes forms and stuff. Sonic got a lot of stuff from Dragon Ball Z, bro. Like Super Sonic, like as much as I love Sonic, I am a Sonic fanboy to the day I die, bro. Love me some Sonic, but boy, Sonic freaking took so much stuff from Dragon Ball, and I found out that Sonic took a lot of stuff from, well, not a lot, but he took Ariele or whatever that Toriyama made. The little iconic little ring that Sonic, his head pops out of in Sonic the Hedgehog 1, he got that from Ariele, or however you say her name, Ariele. I used to call her Ariel when I was a kid. um, but they actually got that from the Doctor Slump manga, which is crazy. I was like, what? I'm like, that's not original? Sonic stole that too? Damn, bro. But I do think that Dragon Ball stole some stuff from Sonic. Like Hypersonic and Ultra Instinct are just too similar. I'm like, they had to have stole that from Sonic. They had to. But I also realized that both franchises are really inspired by Star Wars. Like they love, you could tell. Toriyama has been open about loving Star Wars, but Sonic, it's like, it has so much of a freaking Return of the Jedi feel to it when it comes to like the games when you're fighting Eggman, especially like in the like second game. So, but that's all I really have to say for this video. Like, comment, subscribe if you like my videos. And yeah, I'm gonna keep going until I want to say I'm gonna go all the way to GT in the Tournament of Power, but I might get burnt out and just do a different series. Like, I ain't gonna lie. But I'll like come back to this one, you know. But I hope y'all are having a good one. Peace. Take care. Like, comment, subscribe. Like I said before, I don't care. You can spam my comment section. Now, when I say spam, that doesn't mean put the same comments like 10 times. What I mean is like if you have like a whole 3 pages of stuff you want to say, just say it in the comment section. Like I'll read it. You know. And again, tell me what you guys really love about the Dragon Ball franchise. All right. Peace. You guys have a good one. Take care.